Hello and welcome to the analysis of the Hindu newspaper dated October 29th, 2022. In this video, we are going to talk about just two important newspaper articles. That's it. But the list of important newspaper articles is very long. So here's a list of important newspaper articles presented in your screen. These articles are very important, very significant. So you are going to study, you are going to read them from the Hindu newspaper dated 29th October. Right. So with this, let's move forward with the fact that you need to subscribe to this channel. Do subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification to receive all the updates regarding this particular channel. And apart from it, you can also join us on Telegram to get all the important PDFs important for the civil services examination. So with this, let's now head to the first important newspaper article for the day. Now this particular newspaper article is regarding the UAPA. For those of you who do not know, it's Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, an act against the terrorist, right? So now our Prime Minister Modi says that UAPA gave an impetus to fight against the terror, which is a very right statement. So, but what's the concern and the other things there in this particular newspaper article? We are going to discuss them, and we are also going to discuss what is exactly this UAPA. Right. So our Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday said that the central laws such as the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, that is UAPA, had given an impetus to system in a decisive fight against the terrorism. Very true. Now the Prime Minister said that the police should be equipped to face not only those Naxals who hold a gun but also those who wield a pen and mislead the youth by exploiting their emotions. Now, what he's talking about is the urban Naxalism. The people who are well educated, people who side with these Naxals. Alright, so this is what he's trying to say. Now, the next statement he makes is that such forces who get international support should not be allowed to take root as they were detrimental to the unity and integrity of the country, he said. Very right statement, because any kind of international organization cannot interfere in the functioning of the country. It cannot support the Naxals. Now, Mr. Modi also went on to say that the anti-terror legislation, that is the UAPA, comes at a time when the Supreme Court is examining. Sorry, this particular statement is right regarding the fact that the anti-terror legislation, that is the UAPA, comes at a time when the Supreme Court is examining a petition that has challenged the validity of the law. Now, the Supreme Court is examining this particular thing, that UAPA is justified or not. And at this point of time, our Prime Minister is supporting the UAPA. That is why this particular article becomes very significant. Alright, so now let's discuss what is this UAPA. What's UAPA? UAPA was passed in 1967, and the aim of this particular law was very simple. It's effective prevention of unlawful activities associations in India. Alright, so now the act assigns absolute power to the central government by which if the center deems an activity as unlawful, then it may by a way of an official gazette declare it so. If whatever activity you are doing, if the center thinks that it is unlawful, it is going against the law, then they have the power to declare that activity as unlawful, and hence it will come under the UAPA. Now the UAPA attracts a death penalty and life imprisonment as highest level of punishment. Mind it, these are the highest level of punishments. The punishments can be low as well. For example, 5 years or 10 years, like that also, right? So now under UAPA, both Indian and foreign nationals can be charged. It's not just the Indian nationals who can be charged, the foreign nationals as well can be charged. And this is applicable to the offenders in the same manner even if crime is committed on a foreign land outside India. If you are committing any kind of crime which is unlawful in nature, which is against the ethos of the country, then you are going to get charged or you will be deemed as an offender under the UAPA. Now under the UAPA, the investigating agency can file a charge sheet in maximum 180 days after the arrest. Until the arrest, 180 days of arrest, the police cannot or can choose to not file the charge sheet, and but there is a maximum duration, that is the 180 days after the arrest, it has to file the charge sheet. It's the maximum duration, right? And the duration can be extended further after intimating court, right? If you notify the court that the further investigation is to be done or any of the reasons, then it can be further extended as well, 180 days plus some of the days which have been granted by the court, right? So this is regarding the UAPA. Now the UAPA was amended in 2019 as well. All right. So now the Act empowers, according to the amendments of the 2019, the Act empowers the Director General of National Investigation Agency to grant approval of seizure or attachment of property when the case is investigated by the said agency. And apart from it, so it gives a power to the National Investigation Agency, which, as you know, the National Investigation Agency does what? It relates to, or it solves the cases of, and all the terrorism related cases. It solves all the terrorism related cases, and that is why the National Investigation Agency has been granted this power by the amendments in 2019. And apart from it, the Act empowers the officers of the NIA of the rank of inspector or above to investigate cases of terrorism in addition to those conducted by the DSP or ACP or above rank officer in the state. And apart from it, it is also included the provision of designating an individual as a terrorist. Now the NIA can designate an individual as a terrorist as well. These were some of the amendments made in 2019. So what we have talked about? We have talked about what is UAPA. We have talked about the name, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi's statement, and there will be some news in the later period also, because this particular UAPA has been challenged in the Supreme Court. There is a petition pending in the Supreme Court, right? So we will see about it in the future, but for now, this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Let's now head to the next important newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article is very significant, very important, because it talks about the TB cases. It also talks about a report by the WHO, that is the WHO Global TB Report. We are going to discuss all of it. But before that, what exactly is this TB, that is the tuberculosis? Basically, tuberculosis is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and henceforth its name is tuberculosis disease, right? It is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it most often affects the lungs, though it affects the other organs as well, but mostly it affects the lungs, and around 10% of the latent infections progress to active disease. That is, if there is an infection of the tuberculosis or any kind of infection from the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, then it is going to turn into a disease or active disease in 10% of the cases. And if it is left untreated for a very long time, then it can also kill you. It can also lead to death. This is the intensity of the tuberculosis. Now the mode of transmission, or how it transmits to the other individuals, is very interesting. Now TB is spread through the air when people with lung TB cough, sneeze or spit. Alright, so now if it is happening, if somebody with the TB coughs, sneezes or spits, then it can spread to the other person as well, and a person needs to inhale only a few germs to become infected by it. All right, now with the TB infection, a person gets infected with TB bacteria that lie inactive in the body, and this infection can develop into TB disease if their immune system weakens. If your immune system doesn't weaken, then you are not going to get affected by the TB. But if your immune system gets affected by the TB bacteria, that is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, then you are going to get the infection. All right, so now let's talk about the symptoms of it. First one is prolonged cough. Second one is chest pain. Third one is weakness. If you are feeling the weakness, then also you are going to get the tuberculosis. There is a weight loss. You have a fever. Now these are all the symptoms of the tuberculosis, and often these symptoms will be mild for many months and thus leading to delays in the seeking care because people do not take care of that attention, take care of themselves. It leads to the severe cases of the tuberculosis. If you take care of yourself in the earlier stages, if you go to the doctor, then you are not going to get affected by the tuberculosis. All right. Now the first, now let's talk about the diagnosis of it. What can you do when the tuberculosis comes in? Now in this case, in the case of suspected lung TB disease, a sputum sample is collected for the testing of for TB bacteria. In simple words, a sample is collected for the TB bacteria. And for the non-lung TB disease, first one was for the lung TB disease, a sputum sample is collected in such case. And for non-lung TB disease, samples of affected body fluids and tissue can be tested. Whichever part is infected, that body parts, fluids and tissues are collected. And WHO, that is the World Health Organization, recommends rapid molecular diagnostic tests as initial test for the people showing signs and symptoms of the TB. This molecular diagnostic test leads to what? The confirmation that person is affected by the tuberculosis. And apart from it, there are other diagnostic tools which are very popular. For example, in India, it's the X-rays which are common. There's also includes sputum smear microscopy, by which you can detect the tuberculosis. So this is the diagnosis of it. Let's now talk about the treatment of it. What you can do after you get affected by the tuberculosis. So both TB infection and disease are curable using antibiotics. Only you have to just take the antibiotics, and it is treated by a standard 6 months course of 4 antibiotics. Now, if you are facing a drug resistant TB, that is the drug is not working on the TB you are having, then the TB bacteria do not respond to the standard drugs. Alright, so drug resistant TB does not respond to the standard drugs. All these antibiotics will not be effective on them. So in this case, its treatment is longer and more complex, and it is treated by some drug known as bedaquiline, right? And in case of infection where the patient is infected with TB bacteria but not ill, TB preventive treatment can be given to stop the onset of disease. So this is the treatment regarding the tuberculosis. Let's now talk about the global TB report which has been presented by the WHO. And this particular article also talks about this particular report only, right? We have discussed what is the tuberculosis. Yeah, now you know what is tuberculosis. Let's now talk about this particular report. Now this particular report says that India's TB incidence for the year 2021 is such that 210 per 1 lakh people are affected compared to the baseline year of 2015. Now in 2015, what happened was that 256 cases per lakh population in India were reported, but in 2021 only 210 per 1 lakh population cases are detected, and there has been an 18% decline, which is 7 percentage points better than the global average of 11%. The percentage decline in the number of cases. Now the global average in this regard, or the percentage decline in the global terms, is 11%, but in Indian terms it is, or in India it is 18%, which is very progressive thing, which is very good thing. And this has been said by the Health Ministry on Friday. And this particular report was released, I mean, in what? October 22, right? Alright. So now the report notes the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the diagnosis, treatment and burden of the disease for TB all over the world. We all know that. Now, India is at 36th position in terms of the incident rates, that is from largest to the smallest incidence numbers. Alright. So now, while the COVID-19 pandemic impacted TB programs across the world, the TB programs were affected all around the world because, why? Because all of the focus went on the COVID-19. But India was very successful in offsetting the disruption caused through the introduction of critical interventions in 2020 and 2021. What was this critical intervention? This particular critical intervention was National TB Elimination program. Now this national TB elimination programs aims to eliminate TB by 2025, right? All right. So now this particular program led to some kind of information regarding it, and as well as there were some steps taken in this regard. Now the steps include having a check on nutrition and undernutrition. This was done by Nikshay Poshan Yojana, and which has proved to be very critical for the vulnerable section. All right. And apart from it, during 2020 and 2021, India made cash transfers of $89 million, that is 670 crores, to TB patients through a direct benefit transfer program. When you are providing money to people, or you are providing cash to the people, then the people are going to buy food. If they are going to buy food, if their nutritional requirements are fulfilled, then they are going to be less affected by the tuberculosis, right? And moreover, in September 2022, the Honorable President of India has launched a first of its kind Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan to provide additional support, nutritional support to those on TB treatment through contributions from community, including individuals and organizations. So all of these programs, for example, the first, the National TB Elimination Program. Second one is the Nikshay Poshan Yojana. Third one is the Direct Benefit Transfer Program. And the fourth one is the Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Abhiyan, Bharat Abhiyan. Now, this particular last one, Abhiyan, is not very much implemented. We do not know about the results of it. But these three, that is the top three, that is the National TB Elimination Program, the Nikshay Poshan Yojana, and the Direct Benefit Transfer Program, are very important. You need to know about the details of this particular program, and that is what is going to be the homework of today, right? You are going to study all of this Yojana, all of these programs, and you are also going to study regarding the Pradhan Mantri TB Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. All right, all of these programs aim to eliminate the TB by 2025. This needs to be kept in mind. So now, this we have discussed about the TB. We have also discussed about this particular report, that is the WHO Global TB Report. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article, and this is it for the day. Thank you from my side. Do like and share the video and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day. Bye.